Tell me where you are watching from in this vast universe before we start. Leave a comment with your city or country. The reach of these Wild West tailies is amazing. Now, friend, get comfortable. The coffee is on, the fire is warm, and I have a story that might make your heart a little fuller than it was. The world's edges had been softer by the snowfall when Rhett Callahan heard the faint knock, which sounded like a breath against wood. He hadn't anticipated guests, not with the wind hammering through every crack in the planks and in this cold. More out of habit than fear, he put down his drink and grabbed for the gun that was leaned next to the stove. He was so taken aback by what he saw as he opened the door. A young child, perhaps 6 years old, was standing there wearing a threadbare shawl that was too flimsy for November. Her hair was matted from the moisture and her cheeks were flushed. A smaller youngster was standing next to her, gripping a stick as if it were a sword. His eyes were too serious for 5 as he looked up at Rhett. The girl said, "We're sorry," before he could say anything more. Her voice broke like ice beneath her feet. "We was just cold." Rhett remained motionless. A forgotten anguish, resembling the ghost of a wound, awoke within him. He expected to see a parent, so he looked beyond them. Just a crow's claw on the fence post and white drifts. He said, "Where's your folks?" The girl squeezed her lips together. She said, "Wait by the barn. Mama's coming." "How long you been?" "Waiting?" She averted her gaze. "Not long." A lie. Her trembling was evident to him. He ought to have escorted them into town or instructed them to wait outside. However, he moved aside instead. Enter. They went cautiously and almost silently, much like fawns. The warmth within struck them, and they froze, their eyes wide as if it were a trap. After closing the door, Rhett went back to the stove and poured stew into 2 bowls. He placed them on the table and took a step back. The boy gave the girl a look. She gave a nod. They ate after that. Just steam rising and the sound of spoons scraping tin, no names, no inquiries. Red took a seat again and watched. After tearing her bread in 2, the girl gave her brother the larger portion. She had yet to touch hers. Rhett shoved his plate in her direction. She gave a blink. "You sure?" "Already ate," he said falsely. He later located a quilt and placed it next to the fire. The youngster huddled up to his sister. As though she could see another universe within the flames, she gazed into them. Rhett intended to inquire again about their origins and identities, but her eyelids drooped, and they soon began breathing steadily and slowly. He ought to have gone to bed. Rather, he stood guard. And a single phrase, like a prayer, escaped the boy's lips as he sobbed in his slumber. The morning arrived dark and bitter. Mama, Red noticed the sound as he was going outside to split firewood. Gentle footsteps on icy ground. She was there when he turned. Her face was tense. Her hair was dark from melting snow, and she appeared 20 years older than the voice that escaped her lips. The knees of her garment were patched. She exuded an air of someone who was prepared to be rejected. "I don't think they meant no harm," she added in a quiet voice. "They were chilly. I instructed Em to hold off." Rhett examined her. The girl's eyes are the same. Chin shape is the same. You're their mother. "Indeed, sir." A pause. "Widow. Presently, 3 months. Since yesterday morning sunrise, we have been strolling." He pulled the door open. "Enter." Her kids were still sleeping by the fire when she entered. Her throat tightened. She lowered herself to her knees and kissed their hair while encircling them with her arms. The youngster clung to her after waking up first. "Mama, I told you I'd come," the girl mumbled, blinked, and stirred, though her voice was broken. They were given room by Rhett. After pouring coffee, he took a seat. After a while, she glanced over and used a soiled keef to wipe her face. After a minute, she offered Lena Dobbs, "Thank you, Rhett Cahalan, for your generosity. By noon, I'll be gone." Rhett remained silent. He simply filled her cup again. In small communities, word spreads more quickly than carts. Whispers followed Rhett and Lena like dust as they rode that day with the kids in behind. Mrs. Finley, holding an apple basket on her hip, watched with narrowed eyes from the Morentile steps. Her mouth moved as if she was having trouble deciding. between smiling and frowning. She's the widow from Clear Hollow, right? Someone whispered. She stays inside with Rhett? A sharper voice added. Lena stood outside the entryway of the feed shop. Rhett informed her, You can choose what you need. She gave a headshake. I am unable to pay you. You weren't asked to. The girl behind the counter turned red. People took notice. Lena was silent. On the way home, Caleb was in her lap. He had dozed off, mouth and thumb. Rhett saw her give him a short glance before turning her head away. Without being asked, Lena heated the water and swept the floor that evening. Sophie assisted her in slicing the potatoes after she had cleaned them. At supper, there was faint, uncertain laughing that like birds trying their wings. His saddlebag was patched where it had been fraying when Rhett later entered the stable. The stitches were accurate and nice. A little lavender sprig was nestled inside. There was silence and snow the following week. Rhett remained occupied. From town, Lena took in repairing. When he wasn't looking, she cut wood. Kayla and Sophie started to smile more as they picked up sticks like treasure and wandered about the fence lines. An unexpected and violent storm came in one afternoon. Rhett was fixing shingles on the roof. Without saying anything, Lena handed him nails and climbed up. Even when thunder shattered the sky, she moved swiftly and confidently. She lost her balance when the wind picked up speed. He managed to grab her waist. They went cold. His touch was hard. Her breath was shallow. It started to rain. Whispering, I used to love storms, she said. He gave her a look. I still do now, but they sound more aloof. He remained silent. Simply kept her close until the rain stopped. However, not everyone was kind. Sheriff Hardin rode slowly up one evening with his hat low over his eyes. Rhett, he uttered while securing his horse to the pole. Heard you got company? I got help, replied Rhett. She's not your wife. Not yet. The sheriff gave his jaw a scratch. I ain't here to scold. Just saying some folks are talking loud. Rhett gave a nod. Since my pa passed away, they have started communicating. I'm accustomed to it. Lena stood motionless behind the curtain. She packed her bag. That evening, she murmured, I won't ruin what little you have, with wide eyes. You haven't damaged anything. Rhett, this is improper. We are unfamiliar. You would think that strangers would have stayed together for this long. She glanced at him, then stared. Closely, her pride carried her as her defenses crumbled. I can't be a helpless victim. You're not. He took a step forward. This house no longer echoes because of you. She averted her gaze. He whispered, Let me give you your name back. Additionally, a house for your kids? Rhett traveled into town the following morning and used 3 days' worth of pay to purchase a ring. Lena was hanging washing in the sun when he got back. Sophie was using a stick that could be used as a horse to chase after Caleb. The scent of spring permeated the air. He fell to his knees. Only the birds were able to see it. Lena simply put her palm to his chest, nodded, and grinned like a sunrise emerging from a sea of ice without saying a word. They exchanged vows 2 weeks later. Beneath the apple tree that hadn't flowered in 5 years, Mrs. Finley arrived with a grudging smile and a peach pie. For the first time in 10 years, Rhett put on his father's shining boots. Lena wore an outfit made from repurposed fabric. Sophie flung petals from an apron while holding Caleb on her hip. Before the preacher could finish the opening, Rhett remarked, I already do. Rhett sat next to Lena on the porch that night when the kids were sleeping in a once-empty room and the fire was crackling. I used to pray for rain, he remarked. I hope you remain, she said, leaning her head against his shoulder. She also did. Therefore, do not turn away if you notice 2 little footsteps in the snow outside your door. Loud confessions and lace aren't always necessary for love. Sometimes it arrives silent, hungry, with kids in tow and pride clutched into a chilly fist. The laws aren't what save us in this world, so open the door nevertheless. It's the generosity we show when no one is around, and occasionally, just occasionally, the family you create from the ground up ends up saving you.